Okay. Creedmoor Fury here, coming to you from a happy place. My garden's here, my lab is there, my guitar shop's over there. This is kind of my whole world. It's been really hot, got a lot of stuff growing behind me and beside me, and well, here we are again. We're at that place again where I'm starting to need another organic fertilizer, and I've been using my fish hydrolysate for quite some time. I made it last year right around the same time. I made a gallon or just over a gallon, and I need to make more now. So the last time I did this, I did catch a little bit of flack for for using whole fish. I just want to set everyone's mind at ease. Creedmoor's not a waste. The fish that I use, they're grown here in my pond, and I don't eat fish. I don't eat fish until it becomes fertilizer. So other people voice their concerns about the smell of the process of making it and using it, and I just want to rest you assured on this note too. The way I do it, it's not like that. It doesn't stink. I use a container like this. This is basically just a 5-gallon spackle bucket that's been washed out. I washed it out before we started the process. It has a lid on it. The lid has a gasket underneath it that seals it. Above that, we've got this device right here, and this is called an airlock. I'm not so sure I got into this too much in the last video, but I'm going to get into it now. Anyway, this airlock allows the vapors from the inside of this to gently escape, and it also keeps the other organisms and contamination from entering back into the system. And that's important because if we don't have other competition involved in the fermentation process, then it's more likely that the fermentation process will go off without a hitch. So inside this bucket right here is the contents of what I'm planning on using. It's a bass. It weighs just about precisely 1 pound. It's going to take 3 pounds of blackstrap molasses, and I'm also going to use about a gallon of water to put this together. But I'm going to do something different this time, because last time when I used my Ninja blender, I felt like it might have been a little bit riskier. And then I couldn't help but feel like in the back of my mind, well, I always have a few of my my subscribers that are kind of working with me, and they're saying, hey, you know, Creedmoor, they didn't have Ninja grinders back in the day, and I'm pretty sure they did something very similar to what you're doing. So as far as, and as long as I can remember, our grandparents and such, they would always bury a fish in their backyard, or parts in their backyard where the garden was. So this isn't that much different. The only thing that's different about this is I want to use it in this container in a liquid form, fermenting that along with some sugars and water and some, in this particular case, I'm going to use labs. I'm going to use lactic acid bacteria as the fermentary aid, and in the end what's going to happen is pretty much everything in here is going to be broken down. Bones, organs, fish scales, you name it, it's all broken down. I have a freshwater largemouth bass that's in here, and that's what we're going to be using as our fertilizer today. So why do I like to do it this way? People ask me that all the time. Why do I like to do it this way? Why don't I just buy it? The simple answer is you never know what you're getting when you buy something. I don't know if I'm getting a saltwater fish or if I'm getting freshwater fish within my fish hydro or fish emulsion, but I do know this. In here is a freshwater fish. My gardens, they're not saline. I don't live by the ocean. I live hundreds of miles from the ocean. So I want compatibility between this, right here, this, and this. That's what I have in here, okay? I wish I could do it in another container. If y'all have access to stainless steel containers, feel free to use them. I know the folks in the distilling community, they utilize stainless steel containers similar to how I use this, because stainless steel cleans really easy. After a while, the plastic will break down. I don't leave it in the sun, so the solar energy isn't radiating on it, but I will leave it outside often, and not so much because of the scent, but because that's the environment that the fish fertilizer is going to be used in. So that's all part of the continuity thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how simple this can be. In the comments after we're done, I'd like you to tell me what you might do different than what Creedmoor did. And if this isn't simple enough for you, gosh, I don't know what will be. So let's get to it. Let's get to looking at what's going on here. Let me share what I'm going to use. Let me share the process. And together, you and I are going to make some fish hydrolysate. It's way better than fish emulsion. It's loaded with amino acids. It's loaded with all sorts of other things that you can't get. It's got plenty of the goodness that your plants want. And it hasn't been adulterated. It hasn't been changed. We haven't pulled anything out of it for the cosmetic industry. I didn't pull anything out of it to make fish oil capsules. All the omegas, 3, 6s, and 9s are in here in abundance, exactly where we want them to be. And I'd be willing to bet if you're feeding your plants any other way, those nutrients don't exist for you. Okay? So, that being said, let's move on. All right? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open this up and well, I'll give you all a look at the bass. I don't want you to think that I'm lying. Creedmoor doesn't do that very well. I promise you if I was, you'd catch me. Okay? So right there you can see we've got a 1-pound bass that's in there. It gave its life for me. It was going to give its life for me no matter what because I raised it for that. Okay? Right here behind me I've got the 1 gallon of water that I'm going to need. Okay? This gallon of water here, I want y'all to think for a second. What kind of water do I have? Do I have well water? Do I have water that comes from a municipality? Is that water chlorinated? Is it brominated? Is there something in that water that's a sterilant? Because if I use something that's a sterilant, it's going to make it much harder to ferment this fish. This right here is well water, but I'm going to show you what I would do if I had chlorinated water. Okay? If I had chlorinated water, I'm going to add a small amount of humic acid. And by small amount, really, if you've got quality humic acid, if you've made it yourself, if you watch me in my videos and you learn how to make your own humic acid using your soils or your compost, you've got good quality humic acid. All I'm going to do is put about the equivalent to a capful in here. Not much, doesn't take much, that's it. That little bit is going to work against the chlorine or the chloramine that's inside the water, the tap water, okay? And just stick my hand over it and give it a little wiggle. It's going to mix up in there, and by the time we're ready to use this, and a few steps later, by the time we're ready to use this, the chlorine will be essentially neutralized. You can also pitch it back and forth between an open container. That will work. You can oxygenate it with an air stone. That works. If you need to do it at larger scale, that's probably going to be the most effective way to do it. But in this case, we're going to use this because this is something that we multitask with. It's used throughout the gardens. It's used when there's heat stress on plants. We'll get into this another time. For now, let's talk about how you make food for your plants. Food for your soil, and more importantly, food for the microbes that support your plants. Okay, still with me? All right, good deal. So here you have it. We've got the water, we've got the nutrient source right here, fish scales, bones, and everything. You're probably wondering, where in the world is this ninja grinder? We're not going to grind it. I could cut it up into little pieces, but I'm not going to do that either. I'm just going to put it in there and let the microbes go to work. And we're going to take another look at this in a couple of weeks and see how well that's working. Something tells me Mother Nature always wins. So with that in mind, blackstrap molasses. This cost me $24 on Amazon. I think it may have even had free shipping. And it ended up at my farm over a year ago, and I've been using it ever since. Right now, there's 5 pounds of blackstrap molasses left over in it. All I'm going to do is go ahead and use my fish scale and a small pail that I'm going to retrieve from over here to scale out 3 pounds. I got a 1-pound fish. I need 3 pounds of molasses. I wish I could tell you about volume equivalents, but I can't. Maybe you can tell me in the comments. What's the volume of 3 pounds of blackstrap molasses? You know, we might be able to know when we're done, but I'm not even going to go there. So to do that, basically I just use one of these. This right here weighs 13 ounces. So I know that I can put it on my scale, I can tear that off, and then I can start pouring the blackstrap molasses in there, okay? But that often presents problems as the scale tends to want to reset itself. So here I have my scale, it's been zeroed, and I can put this together like this, and it shows, guess I was off, it shows 11 ounces or just past 11 ounces. So we know that the 11 ounces plus the 16 ounces 3 times is going to give me precisely what I need. Okay, this thing reads in pounds too, so it's really easy to use. It's very, very simple. So let's go ahead and start pouring some of that in. Okay, open this up. And I know that really what I want is 3 pounds, 11 ounces. Does that make sense? Hope so. So it's pretty thick stuff. And I know that I need about just more than half of what's left. Since there's 5 pounds in here, and I only need 3 pounds. Y'all may be wondering why I'm not pouring it directly into the fermentation vessel. The reason I'm not doing that is because it's just going to make a mess, and I know in the next step I'm going to have to add water to this so that it flows a little better. Here we are sitting at 2 pounds 8 ounces. We're going to put a little bit more in there. And I just want to caution y'all about measuring this stuff, folks. I don't think Mother Nature measures anything, so you really don't have to be perfect about this stuff. Okay, we're almost at 3 pounds, so we're still short. Let's keep going. So all you have to do is just keep on going till you get it there. Let's see what that did. A little trial and error goes a long way, but I have the ability to measure these things, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. There we are, 3 pounds 6 ounces. So we're going to put a tiny little bit more. And whatever it is, it is. I guess you could say it's a good thing that I didn't catch more fish. And there we have it. Exactly 3 pounds, 10.5 ounces. It's more than enough. It's sufficient. Okay, so we'll set that aside. Next step, clean up your mess. Or at least try to keep it clean. Work yourself clean. No, the next step, I'm going to actually put the water in here, and then I'm going to start to stir it. If you've ever mixed water and molasses before, you know that they tend to mix a little bit better if they're warm. So let's hope for the best. And one of the reasons why I want to mix this molasses really, really well with about a half a gallon is so that it will pour into here and over the top of that fish, and so that I can get pretty much every last drip of it out of this container. If I don't, it'll pour out of here really, really slowly, and y'all will get bored and you'll stop watching the video immediately. Nobody wants to watch a boring video, right folks? Okay, so that can sit there with no problem. And give this one final little stir because I really just want it to fall right in there. And then I'm going to pour it in. Let's try and do this in front of y'all. Okay, so what I want to do is I really want to reach my minimums. And once I reach my minimums, if I have not completely covered the fish all the way, I'll put simply more water in there. We just basically keep repeating this until we know that the fish is going to be covered completely. Obviously, you can cut it up into little pieces if you'd like to. You can grind it up in your Ninja grinder, but truth be told, my wife and I share the grinder, and she really would appreciate it if it didn't smell like fish. So, hey, you know, that's my girl. After 2 rinsings, you can see we've got most of it out. So I'm going to use the rest of this gallon just to get as much of this blackstrap molasses out of there as I can. What's so important about the blackstrap molasses is it's actually a carbohydrate, and whatever yeasts and bacteria are in this particular solution are going to really be jazzed about consuming that. The only reason that I put the lactic acid bacteria in, or some other form of fermentation bacteria or yeast, is because I really want an isolate in there that's going to do a good job, that's going to give me the expected results. And through all of the years that we've made this, I've just had some really good luck utilizing that particular strain of bacteria. And since it's already something that I collect when I make my butter, I have it on hand pretty much all the time. So we're just going to put the last of that in there. And now there's no more water, and you're probably wondering, hey, does the fish sink? Well, this is what I know about fish. They'll float for a little while and then they'll sink. So, what's next? This right here, it says fish fertilizer on it, but it's fish hydrolysate. This is the mother. In other words, I made this last year, there's still probably about that much. Can you all see that in it? It's not Alaskan fish fertilizer. This is true fish hydrolysate made with my own fish, my own farmed fish. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to put a little tiny bit of this in here as a mother. There is microbes in here, fermentation aids. They already did the job before. They're going to do the job again. Y'all saw how I measured that very specifically. That's as specific as I'm going to get. Okay. Here is a sample of hot salsa. No, it's not. It's not hot salsa. This is labs. I make my labs one way, and hopefully I can get into this. Other people. Okay, this isn't going to be that easy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run off camera and scream right now, and then I'm going to come back with this, and it's going to be open, okay? Y'all ready? I didn't have to scream. It wasn't that bad. I just needed to stand up. Anyway, again, back to that, we don't measure much. We don't measure much. That's a wrap right there. Okay. So there you have it. We have fermentation aid. We have carbohydrate source. We have a protein source. And we have water and hydration within the vessel. This is really, really simple, folks. Okay? Snap it down. Put a little bit of water into this. Which I actually have. And that makes the seal. And set it in the corner somewhere in the shade. I'm going to put a date on this. I'll usually put a piece of tape on it, and then with pen I'll mark today's date on it. And in 30 days, it's usually always done. So in the past, of course, we chop the fish up into little pieces. We put everything in it, doesn't matter what it is, bones, entrails, organs, scales, everything goes in there. And when it's done, everything is consumed. This is it in a nutshell. Y'all watched the whole process. The only part you didn't see was when I laid down my fishing gear, tied on some tackle, and threw it into the water. If y'all want to see Creedmoor Fury catch bass, put it in the comments. Say, I want to see how you do that part. Show me how to catch a bass. And I'm already showing you how to fish. I could have bought you a fish, but I taught you a fish. Now let's see how this looks in about 30 days. I'll do another little video, little short video, and I'll update what we've got here. So we reached the end of our session here. If you like the content, click the like button. If you appreciate getting notified when I make more content like this, click the subscribe button and ring the bell so that the bell says, tell me everything you know, Creedmoor. And by all means, use the share button so that you can help someone out. Someone else can learn how to fish like you did today. What else is there to say? God bless, may God be with you, and happy gardening. I think that's about where we are. This is where I sign off. You are what you eat, folks. Peace out.